The Massachusetts Golf Association hosted an informative and interactive seminar at the Dedham Country and Polo Club for superintendents, green committee chairmen, and others just interested in finding ways to improve their golf courses and their communications with their members.
Every course is different. Every part of a golf course is different. Different budgets require different work. And so it's not all the same.
After introductory words inside, it was time to hit the course to take part in the 4 rotating stations set up on the golf course. The stations covering agronomy, turf conditions, equipment use, and course marking. Experts from the USGA on hand to help disperse the knowledge.
We're going to go down to the 18th green, which is a typical New England push-up style green, native soil, modified with sand, no drainage. Most of the problems that you have at a golf course, your golf course, can usually be tagged right back to the growing environment. This is a USGA green, some pigments, that's why you see the green. And if you look in this profile, guys, this is kind of interesting. Can you see the sand vein in here? Yeah. That's a different type of aeration. You don't usually see it done on sand greens. So they feel there must be some problems with the root zone. They're not getting the water movement through there. So what we're looking for is just how much thatch is in here, the depth of the roots. They're not that bad. This is called moisture meter. Push it down to the plate, hit a button, and it tells you what your moisture is in that layer. You develop a number that works for you, and time of year it works for you.
You can tell them if it's 14%, get the hose into that area.
Sure.
And do a little work with it. And it works out very nicely.
If you're going to regrass greens, I have one qualification. You've got to have a minimum of 8 full hours of sun on that putting green a day. Preferably 10.
So this station's really all about sort of fairway rough management. One of the biggest challenges I think golf course superintendents face is when managing fairways, it's just the acreage. You're dealing with the largest acreage of what we call any turf that's maintained really under an inch, we call that fine turf grass areas. A football field is typically about an acre. So trying to manage 25 football fields at turf cut at this height with different topography, we started taking those programs from putting greens and putting them into our fairways and seeing the same benefits. Unfortunately, with 25 acres of fairways, typically, it's a huge price tag to start doing fairway top dressing. You see the benefits, but it's got to be a program that's committed to you long term. A couple of things to think about with these areas on your golf courses or just whenever you see them is what are really the expectations that your clientele has for them. You know, if you want them to be free weeds and thin and wispy and playable, you know, they might actually end up costing you more money than if you just had them as primary rough.
What they asked me to do, the USGA asked me to do, is just put a few basic pieces of equipment out. And this whole thing is geared towards educating Greens Committee members, club officials, and just basic questions on equipment. And just understand that every piece of property is different, and what we have works here, it might not work elsewhere.
How often should a committee be thinking about updating its equipment?
You want to turn the stuff over before it starts to cost you a lot of money, especially on your basics. Like tractors, you get a good decade out of them. But then you might start to eat some big bills on a tractor. Like a fairway mower, that's 5 years. On your 5th year, it's almost like time. You're going to start to eat big bills on major repairs. The best thing about my Greens Committee is they ask really good questions. You know, the whole point of a Greens Committee is to be the buffer between the superintendent and the membership. And a great Greens Committee comes to the meeting with a couple things written down. Kevin, I got these 3 questions this month. So that member isn't stopping the superintendent who's trying to train someone on something. They're like, they field the questions, and then they bring them to the meeting. And then they get the answer from the superintendent. And then they go back to the members that ask the questions and that deserve the answer.
Remember, the stakes identify, the lines are the definition. The lines are the most important over the hazards. So if you're responsible for marking, they don't have to touch all the time. You don't have to have your stakes right on here. Nothing wrong with keeping a stake right here. It's a movable obstruction. What you want to do is you want to take the sides and bring it in. Notice I'm bringing it in, so it's a dig and push in. Hopefully you've got enough turf that you've brought it back in and not brought the dirt from down below up and out. The key is to make sure that we educate our membership, whether it's the public, private membership, doesn't matter. We've got to do a better job of doing that, and you can do that through newsletters. Do them by having somebody on the Greens Committee hang out on a par 3 early in the spring.
And then a little Q&A at the end of the day.
And you should have more knowledge, hopefully, when you left and when you came.
What we'll do as well is follow up with an email just to give you all the resources to utilize after the fact.
By day's end, certainly a lot more knowledge for all the attendees.
Still a new idea.